Hey everybody, thanks again for listening to Filling in the Gaps. We are back to normal audio-wise. I am so happy about that. You know what else I'm happy about? These guys. The Roaring Trainers, a real play 5e D&D podcast set in the Pokemon world, Kanto, in the Jazz Age. Follow Wesley, Sindoran, Atticus, and cute little Abby as they meet new friends, discover new Pokemon, and explore the landscape on their Pokemon journey. With mature themes, funny jokes, and sometimes dark storylines, The Roaring Trainers is a story for those of us that grew up on Pokemon and are looking for a Pokemon adventure that grew up with us. You can follow them on Twitter at Roaring Trainers and find them on any podcasting app by searching The Roaring Trainers. They are awesome. Absolutely so much fun to listen to. A good group of guys as well. Gat was on one of our episodes in the past. If you're a fan of Pokemon D&D, we actually created a really cool story together. So if you want to go check out that one after this one, you can. Speaking of this one, we really enjoyed this. It's a diversion from our standard storytelling building process, but we really like what happened with the end result. We hope you do too. Enjoy filling in the gaps.
All right, everybody, welcome to another episode of Filling in the Gaps. As always, I am Rich from the heartland state of Ohio, and I'm joined, as always, by my good friend Cameron from down in the biggest and baddest state of Texas. If this is your first time listening, hello. It's awesome to have you here. We are not an actual play podcast here at Filling in the Gaps, but every week we get together, we roll 2 dice, and we randomly brainstorm story ideas, NPCs, encounters, so that you can actually play with your friends at your table. We know that being a DM week after week after week after week can be exhausting. Sometimes you run out of ideas and you just need a spark of inspiration. We hope that we can be that for you in the next 45 minutes. Cameron, anything going on this week? Got anything exciting going on or any announcements to make?
Yes. Over on the Discord, if you haven't joined our Discord, guys, it's something that I would recommend doing. It's a lot of fun. We have a lot of really great DMs in there. We have some really fun activities going on in terms of like collaboration between ideas
And crafts, finger paints,
we
dodgeball.
we play dodgeball on a weekly basis. We've started a league. It actually got syndicated by ESPN, so we got picked up, guys. I'm proud of you. We started 2 new channels that I'm really excited about within the Discord. One of those channels is the Hive. The Hive is a sort of a reference to what one of our Discorders actually called us as the Hive Mind, and I really like that, and I've sort of run with it. And essentially the Hive is a place where you can sort of come in, bring your ideas, and then as a collaborative set of DMs, we can all sort of put our ideas together to try to find the best possible solution to maybe a problem that you have inside of your game or something like that. In addition to that, I have started a channel called the Book Listening Reading Club. Yeah, so I have been reading some books lately, and I'm really excited about that. We have tea and strumpets while we eat and read.
I do declare, Cameron, this book just stirred in me something I have not felt for quite some time.
That's Catcher in the Rye. It's very, very risque. No, but I want to start reading with you guys. I think reading will help us grow and become more creatively powerful for our players and make us better DMs all the way around. So if you have books that you're reading right now, or if you want to start reading with a group of people and then discussing the book and the ideas behind it, join over on that channel right there as well, and we can have fun with that. But beyond that, though, outside of the Discord, there really isn't a lot going on. There is one more thing before we get into it.
Oh, cool. Yeah, go ahead.
It's the supplements that we have that we've been planning to do monthly. Rich and I had a super busy March, super duper February.
We've already failed, guys.
Yeah, we failed.
We've already failed.
2 months into the year, we failed already.
We failed.
I failed you, Mr. Wayne. So we're going to put the one that we had set for February, we're going to put that one on hold. It's just not really hitting any kind of major inspirational points for us. We're not necessarily getting excited about any ideas. We're just sort of forcing them out. And it just didn't feel very natural to us. And so for now, we're going to table that one and let it sit. Maybe we can come back to it and grow that one for, when the time comes. But with that being said, the announcement is next month's module for the month of March is going to be Faerun's Gully, which is what we've coined. That's the episode that we did with a fairy dragon that was shrinking down players in a small Fae world. So we've already definitely started working on that as well, and we're really excited to sort of put that one in front of you guys. That will definitely be our next module out, and we hope y'all are excited about that.
Yeah, it's going to be. Sorry, I cut you off there for a second.
No, I was talking and rambling, and I just doing what I do. So here we are.
No, I get you. But I'm excited for that one, and it's mostly done too, so we'll be able to get it out quick. It might not even be an at the end of the month thing, but I might just be putting my foot in my mouth right now. So you know what? If I'm wrong, quote me. Quote me right now. Quote me as saying I will probably be wrong.
Yes. Not the part about it actually coming out in a week or two, because I don't know if that's actually going to happen.
But if I'm right, quote me. Quote me right now.
Okay, and one other thing that I forgot to mention was, shall we roll?
Let's do it. That was pretty much the same thing I always say. I'm sorry, guys. If you have any suggestions for themes, scenarios, or what the heck Rich should say to actually start the rolling process, that would be awesome. But once again, so what we're going to be doing right now is me and Cam are going to roll our 2 tried and trusty D20s. Today, I am rolling for scenarios, Cam is rolling for themes, and we're going to mash these 2 things together and brainstorm what a session would look like with these 2 things over the next 45 minutes. So Cam, what you rolling today? What dice?
I've got like a sunburst orange. I'm addicted to orange.
You're sunburst orange. Yeah, I'm rolling more of like a caramel colored dice.
Well, that sounds tasty.
Mm-hmm. So tasty. Yeah. Speaking of tasty, though, let's see what we get.
All right, here we go.
I got an 11.
I went up 1 from last week's roll.
All right, so you're at 2. Okay, well, why go ahead and piece those together? Let me talk to you fine individuals about a service known as Libris Arcana Dice. Now, look, I've been telling you guys about Libris Arcana Dice, all right? I mean, I can't talk them up anymore, guys. I'm trying as much as I can, but they're a fantastic company, and what they offer you is a monthly or a tri-monthly dice subscription. Either every month or every 3 months, they will ship a fresh, random set of dice to your door to make sure you always have a new set to keep up with that new character or that new session, or just to look good on your table. So if you're looking for monthly dice to get shipped right to your door, check out LibrisArcanaDice.com. Oh, wait a minute. And also, if you use our promo code FITG, you'll get 25% off your first order. So we recommend you do that for the 3-month order, get 25% off, and get you 3 really cheap, really nice pairs of dice. So
nice.
Sets of dice. Pairs, sets, pairs. Sets.
Dice within
sets.
pairs. They are actually sending out fruit
and
then shoving dice into those.
Yes.
It's a weird business model, but
that's where dice come from. They grow from the dice trees.
Yes, but they're the seeds of pears. It's weird. I don't know why. Congrats to Libris Arcana on their 1-year anniversary as well. They just hit that today.
Aww.
I know.
Aww.
Really, yeah. We've almost been together for a year together. It's been really nice. So you rolled an 11, right? Is what you said?
I rolled an 11.
Okay, and I rolled a 2. So our theme today is brought to us by Ganoff, or every time I look at it, I want to say Ganondorf. But and that theme is Dinosaur Crater, and then our scenario is brought to us by Big Ben 20 and the Ruler of Rhyme, the vaunted and sort of just infamous in my mind time loop, which should be interesting.
So Dinosaur Crater and time loop. Okay, all right. So when you think of these 2 things, Cam, let me ask you, what are you seeing in your head right now? What ideas are starting to bubble and boil up to the surface when you think of a dinosaur crater, which is specifically like a footprint, right?
Yes.
So when you think of that mixed with...
Well, kind of. Actually.
Well,
yeah.
Whatever. When you think of those 2 things, what's immediately popping into your head?
Well, the reason why I say kind of is because I'm thinking about the fact that dinosaurs were ended by a meteorite
True.
And so I think you might be picking up what I'm putting down here, but essentially it's like Groundhog's Day, but with a meteorite that crashes into the world and destroys the entire world itself, and your players are tasked with stopping it, and they're stuck in a world with a bunch of dinosaurs, like in Tombs of Annihilation. What's that world called? Chult, right?
Yes.
Is that what it's called? Mm-hmm. So they're stuck in like a dinosaur world that's being blown up by a meteorite, but maybe it's like a meteorite that's being cast from a separate plane that sort of like, I don't know. I don't know from there, but that's as far as I'm taking it. So what do you think?
So what if, okay, the idea I'm going with right now is what if we are being propelled back in time to like where there's these more prehistoric or dinosaur-like creatures. Then you are pushed back into time, and either the wizard who brought you there or the thing that brought you there now only has enough power to send you back to the end of the day, like the day that you're currently in. So there's this whole, I like the idea of the meteorite that's going to smash into the world or something like that, like this kind of like a apocalyptic end of the dinosaur age type thing. So you're you know that's coming. You know that's going to happen at the end of the day, and you can go right back to the start of your current day. So you can only ever go back to the beginning of this day that the meteorite's going to hit. But you need to find some sort of thing that can power your wizard or the device he used to bring you back to this time, to be able to like take you back to the future, to like your current time. So like you can keep experimenting, you can keep trying different things, you can keep exploring different areas, and then right before the meteorite hits, you can suck yourself back to the beginning of the day. Like just like, okay, let's start over. So it feels very much like a Dark Souls type, like loophole.
It kind of feels like either that or Majora's Mask.
Yes. Just like Majora's Mask. That's pretty much the best way of thinking about it. But I think with that, it could give you a bunch of interesting ways to, like, for instance, this might be a session where like your players could like die during this part of your adventure, and they kind of get the ability to do that because then you can rewind time back to the beginning of the day and they're fine. But if that's the case, let them lean into that. Like, make that like an overarching theme for this session is like, this is a prehistoric, very deadly world, and you might have to die to progress forward. But are you willing to do that? So,
okay, we're heading in this direction, and I like this direction.
Okay.
The reason why the players are there or being sent back is maybe a wizard or an artificer or something like that had sort of caught wind of this ancient civilization that had a theory around, or maybe what's that word that I always think of, like a prophecy.
Okay.
Of like, if you do this, and this, or we're able to keep like properly set up this right here, this scenario, in this time, then you could summon this item, and this brings about almighty power or whatever it may be. And this wizard has, or this person has found out about this through their studies of these tomes and books, and they said, well, that civilization's been lost for years. We can't go there now. It's all gone. Everything's broken. But we could change the past. And so their plan is to send your players back there to that, so that they can continue to search and find this thing, maybe these like pillars or something like that are still standing at the time, to perform a ritual. And this is happening during the apocalyptic time, right before the, meteorite hits and destroys the world itself.
So you're saying there's like the Stonehenge type thing set up.
Yes.
And you go there to try to research more about, because this is like the ancient altar site where they summon this ultimate power.
Yes.
And as you go and start pointing around, it actually becomes like a portal back in time. And are you also thinking that the ancient power that they summon is this meteorite?
No, but now I am.
Like they were chasing down the rabbit hole of, finding this ultimate power. Because, if you can control this ultimate power, then you can wield it against people. And that makes you like more profitable. That's kind of like the power play dynamic. So in that regards, they are just blindly chasing after more and more and more power, and they kind of get exactly what they were wanting to find. They get ultimate power. They get the ability to decimate like the earth, but they're kind of foolish in their understanding that they can control it.
I like that.
And then
that's not hesitance in my voice, by the way. I'm
that's
thinking.
Fine. It also feels very Atlantis-like at this point too. Very Atlantis, very like they flew too close to the sun. I mean, here's a civilization where you go up and you actually start poking around some of their Stonehenge type stuff, and it teleports you back in time. Like, these were an advanced civilization living in a very deadly world, like deadly prehistoric untamed world. And they flew too close to the sun, and we might not look back at the past as them being very advanced, but it's kind of like a Ancient Aliens type thing too. Like, like you kind of go back in time and see like, oh, look at all these different, really primitive ways. Maybe you could even talk about too. I'm sorry, I'm rambling at this point.
No. I'm definitely sort of like gathering it all because I'm trying to figure out.
Good. I'm glad
like
you're collecting because I'm just word vomiting right now. Maybe even too.
Data collection. Yeah, no, good.
Like, one thing that is in my D&D world is that I'm stressing is like clerical magic isn't very strong, because like educated magic is more of a thing. But you could even have them go back in time, and maybe this is like the civilization that just uncovered magic, like just uncovered like the untapped resource of magic, and because of that, like, their society just explodes because there's so much of this magical untapped energy that it's so easy to kind of just reach out and use it to do ridiculous stuff. Whereas like that way you can tap into the old like fey feel of magic, where it's not even so much study and think and do, it's just do. It's just I want to do this, I have magic, it happens.
Yes. In this time, because canonically in D&D, dinosaurs exist current day.
Yeah, there's places where they exist.
So we need to create like an old civilization where maybe dinosaurs were the prominent species of the world. Actually brings me to lizard folk. I love lizard folk. Dude. I'd always like to have run one. That'd be a lot of fun. But I think so. You've played Mass Effect, right? Have you?
Yes.
Okay, Mass Effect 3, and this is or it might have been 2. This is a relatively spoiler-free thing, but essentially you go back to a planet with a character named Javik, and it's the Asari's planet, right? And the reason I'm bringing this up is because of the time warp for him, where it's been such a long time since his species has actually been alive, because they were extinct for a long time. Mm-hmm. The Asari walks around, and she's like, he points to a statue, and he's like, "What's that?" And she's like, "Oh, that's our great god, blah blah blah." And he's all, "God?" Because it looks just like him, right? He goes, "God, what are you talking about? That's Jeff, the scientist," and so on and so forth. And so I like the idea of using the gods of the current day world of, say, our D&D world as being normalized people. And maybe this is like a normalized world where the gods were actually, lizard people, or, well, that sounds like a conspiracy theorist thing. But what
Welcome
I'm getting
to
at
Cam's
is
conspiracies. Hey everyone, Cam here. So this week, lizard people.
Yeah. Lizard people are taking over the world.
They're poisoning the frogs.
Oh God. But yeah, so if we go back in time, these things that the current day sees as gods, where all the power has come from, maybe this was the moment that prompted them or gave them all this power, and through this power they ascended to godhood, and that also though cleansed the world and destroyed the world. So essentially there was like this meeting of the minds of all these different people, and I'm sorry that I'm rambling, but I'm kind of walking myself through this.
Nope, it's your turn. I get it.
There's this like, okay, so there's like this dinosaur civilization, like a bunch of lizard people, everything like that, roaming the world. And there are groups of different species that have come together, and they have found this source of magical energy, like what you were talking about earlier, right? Mm-hmm. Well, they, in time, after studying this magical energy, find out that it is ultimate power. And none of them can carry all the power by themselves without being torn apart. So they all take the power for them, like they spread the power evenly, like gods, and all manage different components of their respective world. In doing so, in breaking apart this component that had all the power, it destroys the world that they're a part of. So then the gods have to then create world anew as a whole now. And so I know that I might have lost you, and I'm sorry. I'm sorry I lost everybody.
No, you didn't lose me at all. I think that sounds awesome. I would say, because originally I was like, I don't know if we can go into that much detail, because like one player's world, like cosmology, like the gods are in, their world might not line up with like this type of understanding. Mm-hmm. But I think for us, we should totally run with that, because I love that idea. Like I love that idea of, because in D&D, like that's been the biggest thing. I've had to read a lot of books that do gods well, to help me think of how like a fantasy god should run. Because in D&D, the gods seem powerful, but mine always felt when I ran games very distant. They didn't feel like they actually did anything. Like clerics, yeah, they could, but like then there were these very game-breaking spells, I felt like, where it's like, oh, divine intervention, or oh, this and that, which they aren't that game-breaking. I'm just saying that. But my gods also felt very distant. They had these personalities. I would read and see what they're able to do, but I always kind of felt like it wasn't so much them doing it as much as their followers. So yeah. I've read some books that kind of helped me learn how to juggle that idea of the gods being present. That and just looking at Greek mythology a little bit too has helped me understand like when they step in and when they step out. Right. But I think something like this could be cool. Like this so could cool.
be the moment of their ascension, essentially.
Exactly. Yeah. And I think that could be really, really cool.
So here's
especially if you have this like, you know, wizard or character who sends them back in time wanting to get this power because they already know about it, and maybe they want to ascend into godhood. That's one thing that's going on in my session right now, is this idea of like ascension into godhood and what that looks like. What's the book? Steven Erickson, the Malazan Chronicles. Gardens of the Moon is the first book. If you guys are looking for a good audiobook that talks about ascension a lot and the idea of like gods ascending, it's really good. I'm only a book and a half in, but it's really good.
Okay, that's nice. Well, I think to pick up on where you were leaving off with that guy, though, the whomever, the wizard, yes. It's kind of like not a trick, but it's a trick. They know more than they're leading on to know, and they're only giving the players so much information. Hey, players, go pick up this thing that I need that makes me very, very powerful. If you do, I will reward you with limitless gold. Excuse me, I got a burp going. Limitless gold or any kind of reward or anything to that nature. That was all in character, by the way. He does stop in the middle and say, "Excuse me, I got a burp going." Anyways, gold as far as the eye could see. No, but like he wants them to go to go do this because they know themselves he's going to be able to become powerful and almighty. Mm-hmm. Now, if he changes the past, what does that happen? What happens to the world? There's so many overarching themes that go along with that.
Yeah.
But
then again too, that's not our job right now. Our job is time loop. Our job is dinosaur crater and time loop. So we don't necessarily have to answer all those questions.
Yeah.
We just got to answer.
I do have some. The reason I just think it's so cool is because you have some like moral issues. Because when you get back there, you're like, well, I can't change the future now. Now that I'm thinking about it, I can't change the future because it messes up everything. What if it messes up my life? But then it's also like, oh wow, we just met this lizard man NPC and he's really, really nice and he's a great person, and oh my God, these are just like us. We can't let them all die. And so there's like this moral conundrum that comes along with this. I think that gets weighted there.
I think don't make the lizard people good. Make the lizard pull a Dovahkiin, pull a Elder Scrolls on them, where you have these very oppressive, evil dragons, I'm imagining there's humanoids and there's lizard people, and maybe the humanoids aren't even necessarily human. It's just that there's some kind of bipedal, not scaly race, and there's another race that is like scaly. And the scaly race, just because of their genetics, they're getting bigger, they're getting stronger, they're tapping into magic, they have the ability to shoot fire out of their face and stuff like that. They're already on the next step to becoming dragons, essentially. They're going from being lizard folk to being dragons. And they are fighting against this other, not very defenseless, kind of, squishy race of these bipedal things. So this race is in the process of trying to uncover this magical energy as a sense of them like being able to fight back and survive. The side effect of that being that it creates dragons, but it also creates like the pantheon that your D&D world runs off of.
Yes.
So you're not so much going to change the future. You're kind of just here as the future is already changing. I think a cool moment could be you helping out this squishy race, and you befriending the right gods, so that maybe an option is that you time loop over and over and over and over again to help them figure out how to become gods and how to wield this magic. And you do that for long enough that you say, okay, now I know that one day you guys are going to become these, like, there's a comic book I read that's similar to this. You guys are essentially one day going to become, like, this is what's going to happen. You can kind of tell them, this is what you guys are doing right now in this moment. Right. And I need you guys to remember, it's very Back to the Future. I need you to remember this date at this time right here, that this is going to happen. And when that happens, I need you guys to, like, pop us back in time or bring us back to life. If the wizard maybe sent you back in time right before this happened, maybe they were trying to kill you. But you befriend these gods, you help them out, that happens, and then you get shot back. Whoop, or like right when like the wizard like sends you back in time, you then like fast forward all the way thousands of years into the future to that moment where the wizard's like, I've done it, like they're gone, I win. And then just like out of the nothingness, your players kind of like reemerge.
I like that. I'm a big fan of this, man. I like this a lot. I like the whole lore aspect of it all. I also like the idea of, so now better yet, actually, we need to get on track here. So are you still there, by the way?
I'm still here.
Okay, cool. I thought I might have lost you. What happens when our players show up? Like, we've been transported to the past. What's the world look like? What's going on? Because now that we've got this like whole sort of idea behind this, the structure, if you will, let's start putting some meat on those bones, if you will.
Yeah, I would say, I know we've done something similar to this earlier, but, well, I could see it going a bunch of different ways. You only have a day, so I like the idea of them having a day, that one day, and they have to figure out every day something new, very Majora's Mask-like. Like, what's one more piece of the puzzle we can find out? And shoot, they could hit repeat on this day for a long time. You could flavor that they hit repeat.
Does it have to be a day?
It doesn't have to. I'm just using that as my constraint right now.
Got it. Okay.
So the original idea I was thinking is they could be under siege. You could have this whole, like, if you wanted to run a very combat heavy session, their tribe or their small settlement is under attack by these lizard folk who are riding these dinosaurs, and maybe some of them are even becoming dragons, and some of them are like, so there's just this siege, and your players are there to kind of help. So maybe the first day is just you helping, until you figure out, well, okay, let's restart this day, and then if we set this up and this up and this up, it could be 2 days, it could be 3 days. That way they have the ability to set some stuff up.
Yes.
Or you could have them maybe...
So what about this? 3 days. Okay. We got 3 days to work with here.
Yep.
Those are people catch wind of the fact that our humanoids are trying to accomplish this ritual. The first day, they find out. Second day, they ride. Third day, destroy the ritual. And they just come in. Okay.
Yep.
Everything's dead.
They're going to come in with overwhelming force.
Yep. Exactly.
So you kind of need to, and I think too, have the idea that this race of people, whoever they are, that they know they're going to be taken out, and they're like, the only hope we have is if we figure out how to tap into this magic, how we can unleash this ultimate flow of magic. If we can do that, we can win. But like, have this theme of like, but we don't have enough time. Like, there's no way we have enough time to do that. And then make sure that whatever artifact that your players have that sent them back into time has just enough that every day they can set the reset button like every 3 days, or even they could just set it back like a day, but they can't go any farther. They can't go any farther forward, and they can only go back to that specific day.
Yeah. To add some tension, we're going to pull a page from the Adventure Zone.
Okay.
Griffin did a really good thing. He had a time loop scenario inside of one of his arcs.
Mm-hmm.
And throughout the time loop, the person that perpetuated the time loop was this like old woman. And without any spoilers, essentially this drew from her life force every time they used the time loop.
Okay.
And so every time they would die, they would like appear in this white void, and she would be sitting there. And as time went along, she became weaker and weaker and weaker until she wasn't able to answer anymore and stuff like that. Because you have to have some kind of tension into this, right? Like, you can't just have, because otherwise your players would just endlessly forever be in that thing until they solved it, which means that they have no risk of failure. Am I wrong?
No, you're right. I'm just wondering if that's okay. Because, like, usually we need this tension. But I think that tension comes from the fact that they could be stuck in this loop for forever.
There is that. You know. Like, make it uncomfortable for them to be there. You know, because, like, I theoretically, I could stay in a time loop where I am swimming in a sea of trash. Doesn't mean that I want to stay in that time loop forever.
Exactly.
No matter how many times I can restart and not die. You know, it could be hell. It could be a prison of sorts.
And that's what I'm kind of thinking, is that, like, this is like it's not a 3 days you want to stay in for forever. And at the same time, too, all of these players are going to have, they want, as players sitting at the table, they want the story to progress. So they're going to move forward. They want to get back.
Yeah.
And also their characters, like, you know, their families, their plot lines, all of their stuff, their main quest is back in the future too. This is just an unfortunate time loop.
I gotcha. And then this crater is created, by the way, sorry, just to make sure that we're covering all of our bases here. The crater is created by the explosion caused by the proper usage of this seance, or like this actual what was the word I'm looking for here, Rich?
Like them tapping into this magical energy, like that type of thing. Yeah.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. Okay. Yeah. I don't know why I can't think of that word right now. I haven't been drinking enough water today. That's what it is.
Well, let's populate this time loop then. What are things that, because I think once again, them being able to lean into this idea of death is important. Like, I think this is a really cool session where you could pin your players up against some very overpowered opponents and make them think about how they win, not just by, I rolled an 18, so I do 20 damage. Like, they have to think through, like, other ways of doing things.
Yeah. Like a roving horde of cannibalistic, sort of rabid people creatures. Species.
Yeah.
Like they're like dehumanized humans, essentially.
Yep. And there's too many to fight. Like,
Yep.
even with your spells, they will just
Yep.
keep coming.
Yep. And so now it's like the human is lava. I don't go into the lava, essentially. Now it's trying to figure our way around that.
So how are you exactly, how are you going to get past that? Like, what are you going to do to get past that?
Yeah, and of course they would screw like rabbits, and so they'd populate the heck out of that place.
And I would say too, along with one thing that could be cool is once you learn, maybe like, okay, let's say you have 4 players. Maybe there's 4 different things that they need to pull off this ritual.